That situation where you feel you've missed out on something, that you've missed something really important, that something has happened and you were not there. Well, that happened to a man called Thomas about 2,000 years ago. He had missed out when all his friends had seen something amazing. And then a week later, Thomas was with them. And when they started telling him, we've seen the most incredible things, Thomas didn't believe them. But I think he was also a little bit jealous because he hadn't been there. He had not been party to what had happened. And this is what happened after that. He says, Thomas, one of the 12, was not with the disciples when Jesus came. So the other disciples told him, we've seen the Lord. But he said to them, unless I see the nail marks in his hands and put my finger where the nails were and put my hand into his side, I'll not believe it. Because his friends were saying, we've seen Jesus, even though the last they'd seen of him, he was dying. He was being killed on a cross, a horrendous execution. So, of course, Thomas couldn't believe it. What is going on here? How can we see someone who's already dead? A week later, Jesus' disciples were in the house again, and Thomas was with them. Though the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them and said, peace be with you. Then he said to Thomas, put your finger here, see my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe. The reason Jesus said that was because his hands had been pierced with nails when he'd been crucified. Put your hands and see the marks are still there. He'd also been pierced through his side with a spear after his death. Again, put your hand there and see where the mark from the spear was. Believe. Thomas said to him, my Lord and my God. Then Jesus told him, because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. Jesus did many other miraculous signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not recorded in this book. But these are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. The person who wrote this, we believe, was none other than one of those 12 people there on that momentous occasion who saw Jesus risen from the dead. His name was John, and that's where we get this name of this gospel or good news about Jesus' life called John. And John wrote these words, this biography of Jesus' life, that others, even 2,000 years later, might believe that Jesus was who he said he was. They might believe that Jesus was the Son of God. As Thomas testified, my Lord and my God. And it's interesting, some people say, but Jesus never said he was God. Jesus never claimed that. He said he was a prophet, he said he was this, he said he was a good man, he did great teaching, even God allowed him to do miracles, but there's no proof that he was God. Well, what sort of man, when someone says, my Lord and my God, allows that person to kneel at his feet, and instead of rebuking him for saying only God can be called God, says you were slow to believe. Why didn't you believe before, basically? He actually rebukes him for his doubt. So this person had no doubt that he felt he was God, and his resurrection from the dead proves that he was God himself. Jesus came down to earth to show us what God is like. If you want to know what God is like, we have the person of Jesus in these words of the Bible, in these 4 books called Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, which are 4 accounts or biographies of Jesus' life. And if you want to know what Jesus is like, you can grab one of our New Testaments from us, because these New Testaments give the account of Jesus' life, but also his effect on those who listen to him and those who put their trust on him. Just like John himself did, just like this Thomas who doubted did. We may have our doubts, but I promise you that if you ask God to reveal himself to you, if you ask God to speak to your heart, then he will. He will show himself to you if you are ready and willing to open your heart to him. We can all come before God. We can all say sorry for our wrongdoings, because a holy God requires holiness. And look, we've all made mistakes. We've all done things that are wrong. We've all done things that we feel guilty about, that we feel ashamed of. but in what Jesus did in dying on the cross. And the reason he died on the cross was that he gave his life that we might have life. He gave his life as an offering to God that we might be forgiven, because he took the punishment due to us. And then he rose from the dead to show that he was without doubt God himself. He has the power even over death itself, something that's only possible for God, the creator and redeemer of all life. And that offer is open to you today, my friends. That offer is open to you today. You can put your trust in Jesus, just as Thomas said, kneel at his feet and say, my Lord and my God. That offer is open to you, and you can accept that today. If you want to come and chat to us, we're here down below by the table. If you want to pray about anything, we're happy to pray with you as well. We're from Hounslow Evangelical Church.